Hi, on a sheet of paper, you're going to label the Cold War practice test review answers. For the ones you got wrong only, you're going to write the question, write out the correct answer, not just the letter, and write the evidence. Then you're going to go back and review what you've written down so that you can feel the connection between the evidence in the passage and the correct answer to the question. Okay, let's get started. Number one, why was Korea a divided nation before, during, and after the Korean War? In the passage, you'll see that it tells you that the communist North was trying to set up their dictatorship over the whole peninsula. If you see the question choices, the answer choices, you'll see that C and D both are correct, but D is more detailed. Therefore, when you have answer choices like that, you always go with the one that's more detailed. Make sure they both are correct, but you always go with the answer that has more detail. Pause and make sure you act accordingly. If you got it wrong, you know what to do. If you got it right, just internalize why that answer is correct. For number two, they want to know about the market economy and the command economy, and also how did that difference influence the partition or division of North and South Korea. Number two, in the passage tells us that North Korea was backed by Soviet Union and China, and those two are communist countries. They use a command economy, and they have strict control over all their citizens' lives. It also says the United States quickly rushed to the assistance of South Korea. Now, the United States has a free market economy with little or no government regulations. All of that is not in the passage. It comes from what you learned previously in class, and it comes from you knowing that this answer is the only answer that talks about the economies and the division of North and South Korea. All of the other answers only talk about one or the other or says things that's not true. Make sure you pause so you can either write the question, answer, and evidence, or internalize why C is correct. Number three wants to know what ways the Korean War, Vietnam War are different from the World War I and World War II. If you notice, the passage has nothing to do with Korean, World War I, or World War II. It's only about Vietnam. So the other knowledge of the knowledge of the other wars has to come from your background information. Number three in the passage tells us that America deviated from its normal path of isolation. So in the other wars, it practiced isolation. In the Vietnam War, it did not. So then you need to find an answer that reflects that, and that is B. Number four simply wants to know what caused the United States to lead a United Nations military force into Vietnam. So why did the United States go into Vietnam? Passage bold print number four tells us that the war took a dramatic turn for the worse when the Vietnamese launched the TET offensive. So that tells us that the North launched an attack on who? The South. So you have to find the answer that reflects that. And the only one that fits is D. Please make sure you pause and get the correct answer and evidence for for 3 and 4. Number five, question seems long, but what it does is gives you the definition of the domino theory in the middle of the question. So whenever you see a comma here and there, you can actually read the question without that information. So listen, how did the domino theory influence the United States participation in the Korean and Vietnam War? So that's the basic question. So that's another trick to remember. If you have two commas, you can take all the sentence out that's in between the commas, and that question should make sense. Okay? All right. So in the passage, boldface number 5 tells us that the United States became involved in the region as a result as a domino theory and containment policy. And if you look, only A answers the question. B does also, but remember, whichever one is more detailed is the correct answer. All right, make sure you